What up, everybody? Scuff D here, and this is going to be the first of many things that I've got to do with the Imperial Fists. I've waited long and hard. This is still within the 7 days of Fistmas. I've decided that there's 7 days of Fistmas because it's the 7th Legion. Makes sense to me. That'll end on Friday, and this video will be out probably right around then, so you'll be getting this as a treat. Consider it your late Christmas gift from me to you. No, this video here, we're going to be doing a Sigismund deck list. Sigismund is one of the 3 Imperial Fist Legionnaire warlords. I played a lot of Dorn. I played a lot more Sigismund. And I played a bunch of more Dorn in the event, but events don't count. But on the plus side, here's the deal. So Sigismund he's one of those warlords. I like him. First off, I mean, character-wise, awesome character. Like period. But his ability, a lot of people poo-pooed the ability initially. And I'll be honest with you. I'll give you my honest feedback at the end of this. This is just the first draft of the Sigismund build that I've got. This thing is going to probably evolve. It has evolved to get to this stage. It's probably going to continue to evolve beyond into the next stage, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing with it, because I think a lot of people are seeing Imperial Fists and they're thinking, all right, fortified outpost. Let's get a bunch of turrets in here and stalwart defenders and perimeter defenses. And then you use Sigismund's Death's Champion ability, right, to give your super key cards frontline for 1 turn. That's an option. And in some games, that's the way to go. But I'm thinking something different. I'm thinking something different. I don't want to go that route. I'm going that route with Dorn, and I'm going a completely different route with Pollux when I start with him. I haven't started with him yet, but I've got an idea in my mind. I'm missing 1 card for that. But I've had good success with Sigismund. I've got more wins than losses. I think that's just batting over a 66% win percentage. And some of those losses, to be fair, some of those losses were stiff. Because it's just the counter game, and when I show you some replays and talk about the deck, then I'll explain what the counter game to this particular build is, my particular approach. But a lot of those are close. This is a razor's edge deck. I will not lie, and I think it's currently in a razor edge state because it is a first draft attempt. I think if I refine it, instead of being a razor's edge, I might have it be the black sword edge. You know, it still will be deadly and very, very delicate. But I think with effectiveness and the right skill, you can pilot it very efficiently. Kind of like Lehman Russ. Lehman Russ is a lot of calculation, believe it or not. I mean, he can steamroll, sure, but you want to calculate your steamroll in certain situations. So, I'm going to show you a couple games. I'm going to show you a game, look at the deck list, show a couple more games after that, and kind of talk about the things that I've found problematic, the things that I'm still adding to it or tweaking, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're going to start with this game here against Mir Aztalan. That looks like a solid draw. Herrenberg is fantastic, offers a lot of potential, especially with low-cost troops. I can't say even low, 4 cost or less troops. So, the idea with this deck is to use Death's Champion to hit hard and fast at the end of the game. That is him taking his sword and driving it home for that final stroke. But in order to get to that final stroke, you have got to survive, and you've got to whittle your opponent down hard and fast. Now, that makes it much more of a aggro approach. Now, the cool thing about Sigismund's ability is he can be defensive against the aggro if he needs to. He's got the access to the Bastion with the Imperial Fist card pool, which helps give him defensive health that you can turn into an offensive weapon. But the key thing here really is to, and that's That's what I wanted. That was a lucky mortar strike. Is to hit hard and hit your opponent as hard as often and prolong Sigismund's life to get to that final Death's Champion strike. And I have found, especially in like a game like this, like using his ability is pointless. There's no need for his ability. I have found that his ability is only useful in certain situations. Now, I don't know if that's a pro or a con. It probably is more of a con, I'll be honest with you. To have an ability that you're not using 90% of the time in your games. That's just a lucky top draw, I won't lie. But that's a key card like Herrenberg, something like that. It's great because if you play Melgator on something that you Melgatored, you get Melgator back, your opponent knows. They know that you've got it. It's both a offensive tool and a defensive tool, because now they know, okay, anything that he plays that's 4 attack or less, I'm going to bounce back. So now, what's the point? What's the point in playing any 4 attack troops? Or maybe he's like, okay, now I have to bait out one more Melgator before I can play this big troop. It buys you time. So, yeah, that feels solid. Really want to get the Brethren on the table, but I want them to survive a little bit. And at the same time, I am hesitant of the irresistible charisma of the Defenders of Caliban. So, the lethal range of Sigismund could be 4, it could be 8, it could be 12. And if you have troops on the board, it goes higher from there. Wish I would have had my defensive satellites for this one, but it is what it is. I should have played the Brethren, baited out some attacks, and then gone for the defensive satellites. But you learn. At the very least, I've still got some health. Get rid of one of those little Jaeger guys. I really like the Brethren. I like these guys. Templar Brethren. First off, they go with Sigismund, like hardcore. But second off, they're a nice, tasty troop that gives Bastion to my warlord. That is important for instances like this. But also, when we get to the deck list, I'll kind of show you why it goes on the offensive. And I might have a game example saved for that. I'm hoping I do. Yeah, and we'll just do it again. Now, some things I found, and if you watch the stream when we were doing when the Imperial Fists first came out, I found the Discipline Fire just is against enemy troops, which is unfortunate. But I still found that it's useful in his deck to kind of shove off big troops that the opponent might drop. If you can shove them off for a turn, maybe kill them without having to worry about them, and allows you to still focus heavily on your opponent's warlord. At this point, it's game. It's game. He didn't take care of my Brethren. I have got 8 from my warlord. I've got 13 health. Oh, he's going to blow it up. Okay, well, that's fine. Guess what? I still have got the Mortar Strike. So, even with the Mortar Strike and Orders from Terra and Death's Champion, that is game. Good game, sir. That's 5 right there. And then we're going to hit for 8 Death's Champion and Orders from Terra. That's how it works. It's a knife's edge, I won't lie. All that extra health comes into play, like super hard. And we win by 1 health in this game. It was a very good game. He didn't do anything wrong. That just kept up on my strategy. So let's take a look at the deck here. So I'll kind of show you what I'm doing. It's all over the place right now, primarily because it's still a draft. There's some cards I'd like to include, and there's cards that I might like to exclude. As you'll see here, this is a tactic-heavy build. Only a few troops at this point in the build, and they're very key troops. I've got the Templar Brethren still to provide that bastion to my warlord, and also offer a decent-sized body. I've got the Whirlwind for some rally spread damage, but I also have defensive satellites in there as well, and I added in an artillery strike and a flanker Vorax. Vorax is a very good troop. As far as high-cost troops, I think Vorax is my highest-cost troop that's neutral, and then we've got the 2 Brethren and Verklosh. I was running the 8-drop legendary, but as I took out more and more troops, I found him to be less impactful, so I took him out as well. So we went more with tactics on this end. Still have Kai. Kai can offer you a lot. And unlike an Angron build, Kai doesn't reduce your warlord's attack in this instance. Sigismund can have troops and be aggressive, so you want to have key troops. Kaiserlane is a very good one. Melgator, as you saw, was very useful, especially with Herrenberg. Jukebox Starsight, also very good with Herrenberg, and if you really need to, you could Herrenberg Vorax for a free Vorax. So, Ekratrez for healing, that's it. That's it on troops. Am I missing any of them? No, I am not. And then we get into the tactics, and the tactics are a matter of survival. Sergeant Ahmed, because I picked him up, I squeezed him in here. This guy is great. He's another good one that's great with the Cestus Ram. Love that artwork. So the tactics are all damage, as much damage as we can. A couple, like one draw, Lactitio and Void. Void because I've got so many tactics. Breach because frontline is a problem. And then we go with abandoned supplies. We go with shield cover. Why shield cover? Well, shield cover gives 3 to my warlord. I can give, that's really where it's going to go. Bastion 3 to my warlord. The counterattack for the Imperial Fists gives 2 to my warlord. Templar Brethren gives 3 to my warlord. Phalanx gives 4 to my warlord. In certain situations, and I've had multiple games, it's not just a rare game. In multiple games, I have gotten 10, 11 Bastion on Sigismund. He's got very low health because he's been attacking, and that Bastion is building up. The opponent isn't attacking him. Or they might be doing like a 1 ping damage, or they're focusing on their larger build and dealing with my troops, the few troops that I've thrown out there. So my Bastion builds up because I gotta play it smart. So then I drop down the shield charge, and that's 11 damage. That's 7 damage. It's random, but in certain instances, it's very easy to control that random factor. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you've got a lethal strike just coming. Now, that's easily thwarted if you get greedy and throw down the Bastion too early. That is important. While it's nice to put it on there, in certain matches, your opponent is not going to do anything about it. But in others, if you throw it down too much, it's just going to prolong your health. And then at that point, shield charge is less of a win con and more of just kind of a little hefty, maybe you might get 2 or 3 damage on there. But it still does come in handy. So, if you draw Phalanx, you could play 2 shield charges and deal 4 damage. I mean, it just, in certain games, it's just really beneficial. I cannot stress that enough. And then that really helps drive home your need. Really, the game is all about this. 2 orders from Terra, 1 order from Terra, it doesn't matter, 1 or 2, and then the Death's Champion. It's very limited in that regard. Inner Sanctum is super nice. This is a great card. I think one of in this deck, but I mean, being able to choose a key card at a certain point in the game, whether it is late game or early game, and toss it back into your opponent's deck is nice. And then it's a lot of cheap troops and high damage. I took as much of the high or wide damage that I could, while also trying to stay on the health edge. Now, maybe at some point down the road, this build becomes a 27 tactics and 3 troop build, or it goes the other way and we end up having 10 and 20, 10 tactics and 20 troops. So that was my first approach. That was my first build when I just started, before I had all the cards, just throwing things together, and I had fun, had some success with it, but I wanted to refine the capabilities, and that's where I'm at currently. That's where I'm at currently with this deck here. As I mentioned, though, it is a knife's edge deck. It is not an easy just pick it up and throw these cards in there. And let's be honest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 legendaries. This is not a beginner's deck. This is an advanced deck. This is an advanced collection deck. And I think in general, Sigismund is going to take skill to play. You're going to have to know when to use his ability. You're going to have to know when not to use his ability and when to press forward. I've got a couple more games here. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of them. Okay, so this one here, this is going to be a game. This was actually a really good game. Again, against Cato War. I don't know who this guy is, but we had a couple of good games this over the course of this weekend. So shout out Cato War from No Lodge.
Take the iron within.
No Lodge, you know, the lodge that everybody is a part of. And really good game. I had fun playing you, and these just happen to be good games worth sharing out of other ones that I've got out there, but I want to highlight some of the variety of the deck. I have no idea who that guy is, but if anybody does know him, if he's in your lodge, give him tip your hat to Cato War. Apologize. Super thirsty. So, unfortunately, the legendary didn't last long in that regard. We've got to tip the scales, do as much damage, but if you get one bastion, you're likely going to get 1 to 3 bastion off of that guy. In a great situation, if you're healing or you've got his stats buffed, you'll get a lot more, but typically you're going to get 1 to 3. So any extra bastion is worthwhile. Take it while you can. I wanted him to remove siege off of things. I don't like this idea. So I'm seeing that. I'm thinking, okay, now it's a troop per Durabo. That's going to be tricky. This guy could come in handy. This guy could come in handy. I think at this point I might have had 1 or 2 extra troops, but not too many. This was right after I had added Breach to my deck because I was finding that frontline, surprise, was problematic for Sigismund, like a big problem. The big issue with frontline, with the whole, I'll just hit Death's Champion and hit you 2 times with it. Well, if your opponent throws up 1 frontline, or a very large frontline, or desperate defense, it's going to be hard. You got to hit him hard, and you got to hit him fast before that 10 energy. 10 energy is not a great spot. It's great for your combo, but it is not ideal. It's not an ideal state in the game at that point. Right now we're at 7, and the lethal range is fast approaching on the Iron Warrior side. Seriously. I was expecting that, like a precision bombardment, but he didn't have one. That's okay. We got the Vorax, we got the abandoned supplies, we got Herrenberg. That's right, baby. Sometimes you can turn one thing into 2 things. And that's good because that really will let me focus on throwing both my Warlord and my 5/2 into Perturabo and dropping him as quickly as possible. Throw up some Bastion. Keep that Vorax because I suspect he's probably going to have some extra troops. If he wants to throw his counterattack or he wants to throw the viral bombs, I'm up on health. Getting him there. I just about got it. Unfortunately, we are not out of the thick yet. This is a killer play. Golg is going to pump out front lines for him every game, and you cannot deny that as a top deck draw. I won't deny it. I love it. Retribution's awesome. Still going to have to deal with that front line with Siege. I elected to not attack him, and I immediately regret it. I won't lie. Immediately regret that thing. And that was my 1 hard removal. So now I am like, okay, what do we do? At the very least, we could get rid of the use the Inner Sanctum. Let's see what we get. That's going to draw us a card, but I'm also going to be able to get rid of his Contrador, which would have given him lethal right then and there. Let's throw down some extra Bastion. We're using all of the tools in our toolbox at this point. Just a little tiny nuances. Give myself some time to heal Ekratrez. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll turn Ekratrez into an offensive tool. Or maybe not. I don't know. It's tricky. I've got 13 health. And then he throws down a second one. Which I'm kind of glad I kept the Ekratrez, but good gravy. You know? Like, what do you do at that point? What do you do? You stun it. You stun it. And you pray. and you get rid of the one threat, add some health on there. Let's do that. Can we? Thank you. Yeah, very close game here. Because if he draws, I've got 17 health at this point. The minute I see that card, I know he's playing troops. He doesn't have any more damage. He can throw out 6 if he wants, but it's not going to be enough. And please no frontline. Please no frontline. Please no frontline. One more frontline troop and I cannot do anything. Nope. That's it. That's it. We could have him here. We could have him here.
I will not fail.
And we do. Between Ekratrez and the Orders from Terra, that's 6 damage on his warlord. Very close game again. Top decking more than I would like. Way more than I would like. But effective nonetheless. Enduring the Iron Warriors siege. Good game, Kettle. Let's take a look at one more. So this one here is a Shabard Dar match, which is a very fast and furious match at this point. This is one of those games where I'm like, okay, do I use my ability? He's aggressive, world leader, maybe. I'm not thrilled with my hand. Brethren could be beneficial. I like Ekratrez, I like that better, but Retribution, I don't think I'm going to get a chance to play that. We'll see. So we're going to use my ability. Got him down. He's down 2. But the thing with Dar's ability is he's just going to hit me for 1 both times. So guess what? He's still down 2. It kind of evens the table here. So you don't gain anything with Dar. Against Dar, I should say, unless you're attacking him on the offensive. So it's not worth it for me to use 1 energy to set me behind every turn. At this point, I will bank on whittling the clock down, gaining extra health when possible, and using whatever Bastion I can take to buy myself some time. The great thing about Bastion on Ekratrez, by the way, is if Ekratrez has got Bastion and he uses his ability, it will reduce his Bastion count, not his life count, so you gain some extra life there. It's very nice. This is one of those examples where I'm just getting maximum Bastion value. Well, I can't say off by 1. I'm getting 2 Bastion. That's worth it. That's worth it. And we go for a little bit of RNG bank. Let's hope. No, unfortunately, we're going to eat 8 damage here. Or more. So we're going to need all the health we can get. We're still up, 13, 15 on the defensive, but we're about to eat a whole heck of a lot. I still don't regret using Ekra's ability because that 3 extra health, I think, anytime is going to be crucial. We're just up by 1 at this point. So if I can get him to 4, I don't have an Orders from Terra in my hand right now, but if I can get him to 4 health, I can lock it, right? So we're going to throw down some Bastion, give ourselves some defensive health. That'll give myself a little bit of a breather. He's got the 5-3 now. Brethren can stick around long enough on the defensive to be useful for 1 strike, and sometimes that's fine. Sometimes it's just enough. We got the shield charge, though. That's a free 1 or 2 damage if I want to throw it out there. So let's see what we do here. Kai, destroy the hard removal, which Retribution is just fantastic card removal. It allows you to still play a troop and use it sometimes. Very effective, and that's game. And just a little nudge, just a little shield bash at the end. Very good game against an aggressive deck. So the weak spots of this deck, as I talked about, going to come down to frontline. If you're facing an opponent who's throwing a lot of frontline out, it's gonna affect your Orders from Terra combo at the end of the game. This is a 6 energy to 10 energy requirement. So I'm still tweaking it. Like I said, there's cards on this list that I would like to put in there. I'd like to put in a drill site. I'd like to put in maybe another defensive satellites or an informant network. Stealth can be a problem, although it's not too terrible because you've got enough random damage out there that it's helpful, especially if you can keep a guy like Kai or Jubok giving you some stuff. It's hard. There's a couple of just close cards in there. Another card I would like to have put in there, where is it? Command Bridge would be very useful to pull a key tactic. And not a Wonders of Terror like Stun. I removed Pi Alpha, actually. So this deck right now, as it in its current state, is actually vulnerable to stun. There's no stun removal. So a Pi Alpha or an Orders from Terra would actually be very, very beneficial. And that's it. I want to keep my cost of my cards low. I want to keep them low so I can combo as much as possible, especially when I play Phalanx at 8 to 10 energy. It's going to give me 4 energy, so they're going to have 4 to 6 energy to spend. And if I have a bunch of high-cost cards, I'm not going to be able to play them. But if I've got a bunch of low, cheap-cost cards, I could draw them up and play them all. It's very possible. If I had Drill Sight, I could play even more. So there are those cards that are worth considering still on my list, but the question is, what do you cut? Cut Abandoned Supplies, drop a 6 cost, put in two Drill Sights? Maybe it's worth doing. It gives me lethal 2 turns earlier, perhaps, because it refills 2 energy. So if you time it right with the 2 Orders from Terra and the Death's Champion, you don't need to have 10 energy. Technically, you could have 8 energy. Or 6. You could do it on 6. That would be tricky, but you could do it. That might be a way to go. This is just a first draft. I'm going to be doing a video hopefully for second and third final, and we'll see what they look like as they go along. Sigismund is very fun. To the naysayers out there, you can win with Sigismund, but I will acquiesce this point. It's very important because I'm finding this as I play. And as I said, Sigismund's ability is not doing anything for him. I would like to see this looked at. I mean, whereas Nemetor is sit back and use this so your opponent doesn't attack your troops, and Nemetor is way less interactive. Sigismund is getting up in the face. He is being aggressive. This is an ability that you use in the carefulest of situations. I have used this ability maybe 6 or 7 times out of the 33 games that I played, not counting events. So that says something. That says something to me. What's really winning the game for him, or what's really making him work, is Champion of Death, or Death's Champion. And that is a fine card. His ability might be just something basic to go with it, or a Battle Honor. Don't give me an ability at all. Take that, give me a Battle Honor or just a straight passive, make it something where it's more effective. It's not the greatest ability, but he can be a very great play. I'm excited about him. I'm trying to do my best to both explain hype and explain the deck, but I like it. I like it a lot, and I'm looking forward to playing more and share. But I just want to share that out with you guys because I said that I would. I've been excited to do so, and this is not a Sentry Turret deck. It doesn't need to be. It shouldn't be. I don't think Sigismund should be a Sentry Turret deck. I would hate to build Sigismund and just have him be Turret Sentry Sigismund. That's not who he is. That's not the Emperor's champion. He was on the walls killing champions. He wasn't on the walls pointing guns. No, sir, not for me. All right, guys. I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's inspired you to see what the Fists can do. They don't just hide behind walls. Sometimes they come out and slay the demons. I'm going to keep playing him, having a good time. Like I said, way more wins than losses with this guy. And there'll be more Fist action to come. Merry Fistmas, and until next time, keep playing Legions. Bye.